2025 has gone by. What has happened in space over the last year? So welcome back to Astrox Radio. This is the 10th episode of this podcast hosted by your host, Astrox. It's crazy that we've been doing this for 20 weeks, but now on, I've got a new strategy for these podcasts. Before, we were doing a 30-minute podcast bi-weekly. Now I'm going to do a 10-minute podcast every single week. Hopefully every Sunday. And if I miss a week, I'm sorry. This episode we're going to be doing a lot. We're going to have the headline topic, which is a 2025 space roundup. Basically what's happened in 2025 in spaceflight. Then we'll have some space news summarize, just a bit of it. Because there's been a bit happening within the last week and New Year, but not that much. And then I'll have some tech stuff, talking about my Biddle robot, Pico Calc, and a watch, like a smartwatch that I'm probably going to buy, and things like that. After, we're going to outro the episode, and we're going to get this done in 10 minutes. So let's jump right in. Spaceflight in 2025 had followed the 2020's trend of record-breaking numbers of orbital launches, with 317 successes and new developments in low Earth orbit human spaceflight. Spaceflight in 2025 included numerous private companies launching using reusable launch vehicles, using things like Falcon 9 and for the first time also New Glenn. 3 private robotic landers attempted landing on the moon, resulting in 1 full and 1 partial success. The full success was Blue Ghost M1 and the partial success was IM2. Among the year's highlights in solar system science were launches and innovative operations of 7 heliophysics and space weather missions by NASA, NOAA, and ESA. In 2025, humanity got the first close-up view of one new solar system object, the main belt asteroid Donald Johnson, visited by NASA probe Lucy. CNSA launched a Tianwen-2 asteroid sample return mission, and NASA launched a twin Escapades spacecraft to study the atmosphere of Mars, and that twin spacecraft were launched on the New Glenn rocket by Blue Origin, if you didn't know that. Okay, so the first orbital launch of this year was on 4th January, and the last was on 30th December. Not this year, but last year. There were a total of 330 launches, with, as I said before, 370 successes and 13 failures if you do the math. There are a few national firsts. Botswana and Montenegro had their first satellite. Bahamas, Malta, St. Kitts and Nevis, Panama, New Zealand, and Nigeria had their first space travelers. And there were a lot of maiden flights for lots of rockets. There was Ares 1, there was H3-24W, Handbit Nano, Long March 8A, Long March 12A, New Glenn 7x2, Spectrum, Starship Block 2, Vulcan Senator VC4S, and Zhuque 3. There were also 3 rockets that got retired. There was H2A202, and there was Soyuz 2.1V, also known as Volga, and there was Starship Block 2. There were 8 orbital crewed flights with 28 orbital travelers. There were 7 suborbital crewed flights with 42 suborbital travelers, total of 70 travelers or astronauts, whatever you like to call it, and 6 EVAs. There's been a lot of exploration of the solar system last year, lots of lunar exploration, human spaceflight, rocket innovation, satellite technology, and more. So now we go month by month how many orbital launches there were. There were 22 total orbital launches in January, 20 in February, 27 in March, 26 in April, 29 in May, 25 in June, 24 in July, 29 again in August, 31 in September, good job September, 26 in October, and again 31 in November, finally 40 in December. Ooh, they went in the end of the year with a bang, didn't they? There are 21 successes in January, then I'll keep listing. 21, then 20, then 24, 25, 27, 25, 23, 28, 30, 26, 30, and finally 38 in December of successes. Then there was a failure in January, 3 failures in March, a failure in April, 2 failures in May, a failure in July and August and September. Then there was a failure in November and 2 failures in December. These are for orbital launches, by the way, not counting suborbital or any of that. There's lots of deep space rendezvous, extravehicular activities, also known as EVAs, from ISS and the Chinese space station, Tiangong. Yeah, Tiangong. And Australia had an orbital rocket launch. Germany had one. Iran had one. Israel had one. South Korea had two. Most of all, the United States had 198, mostly dominated by Falcon 9. So, let's go and do some space news summarized. Experts say that winning the red planet race, returning Mars samples before China, should be a top United States priority. The China may well beat the United States with a grab sample. Moon boots and Mars boots. Anywhere you look at it, there are lots of NASA shoes still to drop. Among the agency's missions in perpetual deja vu status is Mars Sample Return, MSR, an attempt to bring samples of the red planet back to Earth, an endeavor viewed as United States' high priority. However, there's also been a recurrent whirlwind of fallout about Mars Sample Return in the recent years, namely over its budget and feasibility. Is it too costly, too far in the future, too debatable? Experts say that despite the concerns, the mission should proceed and with great haste due to the fact that China is making great strides in advancing its own red planet sample return program, which in turn will make the United States go faster because of the space race. NASA works to extend Swift's life ahead of Reboost mission. As preparations continue for a mission to raise the orbit of NASA's Swift astrophysics spacecraft, project officials are also pursuing steps to extend the satellite's operational life in case of delays. NASA awarded a contract in September to satellite servicing startup Catalyst Space to send the spacecraft to Swift, a 21-year-old observatory that detects gamma ray bursts and whose orbit is decaying because of atmospheric drag. The Catalyst spacecraft is designed to attach to Swift and raise its orbit to extend its lifetime. The mission is scheduled to launch in mid-2026 on a Pegasus XL rocket under a contract between Catalyst and Northrop Grumman announced in November. Okay, for the last topic of this episode, we're going to do some tech stuff. You guys know my Beetle robot, a robotic dog built by a company called Pitoy, which I also had to assemble. What I said last episode or the episode before, I've fully calibrated the robot and it can do whatever I want on the mobile app. Like I can click the commands and it does it for me. But I want to, in the future, as I've said, program it and make it more similar to an actual dog. Have emotions, communication, come to you, good movement, etc. About the PicoCalc, nothing much has happened. I've just been working on CalcuLinux's documentation. I'm going to start to become a documentation writer for CalcuLinux. And then I'll start actually programming for CalcuLinux. About the watch, I want to get a OnePlus Watch free, like the 43mm variant. But I don't know if it'll be too big for my wrist. So I'm looking for some other Android smartwatches that run Wear OS that are good battery life, like 2 to 3, more like 3 days, similar to the OnePlus Watch 3. And they have like a 40 or 41mm diameter. So I know that tech stuff section was really quickly done, but I want to keep this as a 10-minute episode for your sake and my sake. So I guess we'll have to do the outro. I thank you all a lot for listening, and can you all follow me wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe to me on YouTube, join my subreddit, which is r/Astroxia_SRT, which is r/ASTROX_S_R_T. Also the A was capital, like the first A. And overall, enjoy your day.